Greetings. This is Surviving and Winning, and I wanted to come across on uh, YouTube and speak about breast cancer and disability. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this was there's an economic association that happens with this, and it is um, not really greatly advertised because a lot of people do not want to talk about the economic circumstances. That it's not to be shared. It's almost, I would say, taboo, but it's just something that's not discussed. And if people are doing well financially, they want to display it in the objects on the outside, or if they're doing bad financially, sometimes they don't want to tell you, or they're asking for money. But the issue about cancer is that it costs hundreds and thousands of dollars. And it's not, you could buy a really nice house with the money that it costs to um, attempt to survive cancer. And a lot of times, when people don't survive cancer, they lose their loved one and are left in bad economic shape. And so I wanted to speak on the financial aspects of it. I also want to speak about the disability aspects of it. Now, I wanted to uh, really, just speak from a position not of someone who actually made it well from it, but to kind of warn people. I want you to understand that in 2020, new elections are coming. I usually don't try to get it political on a public platform, but I don't know any other way to do it that is going to make any changes. We're going to have the opportunity to vote next year, and we need to take advantage of that in our own best interest, but not just our own best interest, but in the interest of things that may happen to you. So I want to again stress that breast cancer is not one of those things that you will find, okay, my breast hurt, I gotta go to the doctor. It often starts with a lump that you may not even notice or feel. Now, and that is the purpose of the mammograms, is to get tested as early as possible. And that costs money. So I want to get into the financial things, and I label it in regards to disability because of a finding that I found that I received, and just to let you know how the system is working right now, and just to tell my story. And one of the things is that when we're making financial planning, we must it is a risk not to have life insurance. It is a risk not to have health insurance. It is a risk not to have disability insurance. It is a risk to not have a job. There's so many risks that you take because of things that you think that may not happen to you. And I want to encourage you to make room in your budget if you have it for cancer. And for women, make a room in your budget for breast cancer. And I say this because as women, and men get breast cancer too, but not in the same, it's not associated with men. And also understand that in a matriarchal society, um, women may not be given the same consideration as men. And so we need to change that too. That's part of legislation. That's part of voting. That is part of writing to your council members. I'm not just talking for me. There are people out here who have, uh, they're in breast cancer. They're in breast cancer treatment. Some of them have applied for disability. Some of them cannot work. Some of them are unable to do anything right now. And A lot of times people cry about, like, I lost my job and I don't know when I'll find another one. Well, let me tell you, if you have breast cancer or any other type of cancer, a terminal illness that requires a lot of treatment or just requires surgery that takes a while to get back from, you are going to have to be out of work. I am in an at-will state, which means the employer can, if they want to, they can just find out you have cancer, realize that they don't want to deal with it. There's an unemployment market out here where they can have someone take your place and they don't have to deal with absenteeism. And you just got breast cancer treatment. You may have radiation, you may have chemo, you may have radiation and chemo. You are not going to be the same employee as the one that does not have it. But right now, the way the law is set up, you still have to work. They say you can work, and you may have to take a pay cut, but go back to work. And for the people who are able or well enough to vote and who have not gone through this, you really don't know what that means. It is very, very, very exhausting. And when people say, well, I just lost my job, I don't know when I'll find one, and it takes them 1, 2, 3 months or something to find another job, a cancer patient may not be able to work for years. A cancer patient may actually be out of work to the point that they can't even go back to do the same function. For instance, a person with brain cancer or a person that's been through chemo, they have what they call chemo brain, or they'll have what they call radiation brain. I have radiation brain sometimes. I can't think. I'm so exhausted and it just comes on all of a sudden. I didn't just have with my cancer, let me back up a little bit. I had to have, I originally got a lumpectomy. They found the cancer in the lump. And then I had to have a mastectomy. And I had not just a regular breast cancer, I had sarcoma. So normally people get carcinomas, but sarcomas grow really fast, very aggressive, grow rapidly, do not respond well to either chemo or radiation. And because it's rare, and I'm gonna get into the disability part, because it is rare, disability attorneys and disability judges really don't know that much about it. And if it's not addressed properly in the hearing or with doctors backing, they don't really know. So my whole point is to say you need disability insurance, you need health insurance, you need life insurance. You need all three of those things. You cannot afford not to have those things. I did not have those things because I was diagnosed while, well, I was getting sicker and sicker while I was in grad school. And so I had I started off with the undergrad in accounting. I got an MBA and then I got an MISM, which is in IT project management. So I was working my way up, but I was sick. I got my last master's online because I was too sick to get out of bed and just face the elements. It aggravated my body. So at the end of the day, um, I was not. I had health insurance in college, but I got so sick in college that I lost the jobs. I didn't lose them, but I had to resign from the jobs that I had so that I could live and survive. Like I could not do that every day. And what they do say about a person when they become disabled or finally file to be for disability, that they are getting sicker and sicker over time and afraid to lose their jobs and afraid to lose their insurance. So they just come crawling to work. That needs to change. And so 2020 elections are coming up. We need to do something about that. I also wanted to speak about the fact that when you go and they turn you down, and I'll say what happened to me is that um uh I did have a mastectomy. I had chest wall radiation. I had some damage to my lungs as a result of the radiation exposure to my right lung. And I eventually, over time, it was hard for me to come back from that. I had asthma and I had other issues, health issues besides that. I had hearing loss. I had that was not it might be related to the cancer, but it's really not tied there. I have vertigo based on a sinus infection, and I had vocal cord dysfunction, which caused me to have trouble breathing. So you can imagine on your right side, on your right lung, when it's you have your lungs have been scarred, and they do have a record. My lungs have scarred, have been damaged as a result of the radiation, and that scarring does not get better over time; it gets worse. Uh, 2 years later, the cancer had metastasized to my left lung, and I actually had to have lung surgery. And they did a wedge resection, so I had to have part of my lung removed. And they took out the tumor with margins, and so I've been recovering from that. Now, I did have to file disability because with all of this happening, I really could not work. And they turned me down. And then when it metastasized, I asked for a compassionate hearing. And that's another thing. If you get, it does take a long time to file disability. Well, not to file it, but to for them to review it and send something back. A lot of times it's going to be a no with cancer. And I don't know how they do with other cancers, but we have to think breast cancer, and we also have to think how serious do they treat women with breast cancer when they see men can walk around with uh, without a breast. How important do they think our breasts are, and is that a part of determining whether we're disabled or not? Because like if your leg, you lose a part of your leg, then somebody can say, well, she can't do much because she doesn't have a leg, and men and women have legs. But if you are a woman and you have a breast and the men don't have breasts, they're like, well, we work without breasts all the time, and it's not the same thing. And so getting back to it, so there are specific definitions in the disability handbook, and to decide, and then after it's determined that you have that, there's another decision that determines whether you're able to work. So if you have a metastasis, especially with a carcinoma, it almost automatically guarantees disability, supposedly. With a sarcoma, it does, but my experience was different. In my experience, I don't even know. I want to even back up. I would just say I was in ICU for um, maybe one day after surgery. They put me in step down the next day, and the day after that, I was in ICU again for 9 days. So I was in ICU about 10 days, and then they moved me upstairs before I went home. And so I say all that to say that was much more intense. The metastasis was much more intense. When I got my letter for disability, their determination left my metastasis all the way off of that paperwork so that I could be denied. And so I wanted to say that to say, it affects your everyday life. And I think the other reason, what they wanted to say is that even though I didn't work, I was really working because my parents were in a car accident this was well after my diagnosis. I was not working before the diagnosis, and I was not working after the diagnosis that of them being in a car accident that left them immobile. I was not their caretaker when I moved in with them. I moved in with them because I was too sick to take care of myself. And disability said that I was taking care of them, and that was a job. The second thing was that I did have a metastasis, and I did have lung surgery, and I have been recovering from it. And that metastasis, that cancer in my lung, was on the opposite side. It was not even on the side of the radiation. So I have damage on two lungs on both sides. So yeah, I'm tired all the time. I do sleep, and I'm not over exaggerating. It's just that they were looking for ways to deny me, and they had to leave off a very pertinent amount of information in order to make that denial, because basically a metastasis does cause that. Now they said, well, it's not an active cancer because um, the they removed the tumor. I still had to have surgery, and so by definition, if that if the so let me go back. If the treatment and surgery or whatever happens with your cancer is expected to last over a year, and will result in the possibility that you are not able to work for a year or longer, then you should be able to draw unemployment. There are other aspects to it. I don't know the laws in everybody's city or state. I'm just saying what happened to me. And I'm saying also that under the present administration, they were making a decision where they were going to appoint the disability judges. It was their idea that too many people are being granted disability, and so they need to bring in their own judges so that this is supposedly so lenient. It almost like what they're trying to do is eliminate the disability altogether while still collecting money for it, because it's part of your taxes, it's part of your social security, you paid into it for the most part. And so they look at different ways to keep from paying that out. And instead, for people who don't have cancer, active cancer right now, who are perfectly fine, I suggest that you both get disability insurance and get out and vote in 2020. Find legislators, appeal to them, let them know that you want to be able to receive disability, whether it's from a car accident or whatever happens. You never know what can happen, but most people live cannot live long enough. I say live long enough, but earn a living long enough to wait for a decision from disability. Most people don't have savings that will carry them for a whole year and take care of all their bills while they are sick. And another note, if you do get sick, you've got medical bills. I don't care what your insurance is, you got bills coming. You got medical bills coming, and sometimes they'll want to try to figure out ways not to give you treatment. They'll figure your hospital visits and your stays or whatever, they're going to depend on the insurance that you have. So you want to have good insurance. That's one. You're going to want to have um, disability insurance. You want to have good health insurance, good disability insurance, um, and find some way to handle those things in case as a contingency. And you're also going to want to have life insurance. Because if it does metastasize, which in most cases a metastasis for carcinomas especially does not have um, a cure or an outcome, they're telling me that I am curative or curable, but I only have a 25% chance. If it does come back, it's going to come back pretty aggressive. And based on the other health conditions that I have, they may or may not operate. So I am in a pretty bad situation, and disability is not. I would have to wait. I would actually have to wait, and it took me a couple of years to even be heard. But the first letter is most likely going to be a denial. And this last one left off the metastasis, which under a sarcoma, based on the title and definition, is automatic. They think I can work. They said I was taking care of my parents. I actually, um, I'm actually on my own. No, I need someone to take care of me, and I don't have anyone to do that. But my parents were in a really bad car accident, and so yes, I had to take care of my mother, and I would leave her at the nursing home for 2 days so I could get some rest because I could not really take care of her. And I didn't have anyone to take care of me, and I didn't have anyone to take care of her. I did not expect it. I was not prepared for it. I did not have the energy to do it. Everybody lived, but that was not a job for me. But they used it as an excuse, and they took away my metastasis. They scratched that from the record altogether and left it out. I feel slighted, and I do realize that they were threatening to replace the judges in the disability process with other judges, and she was trying to keep her job. So she did eliminate stuff from the record. So I'm letting you know right now, you really don't have that as an option. Some people may get it, but and if you were able to get it, please um reach out to me, or put something in the description box, and let us know any suggestions that you have for anyone else that may be diagnosed, because even though I'm talking to people who may eventually get diagnosed, I'm also talking to people who have been diagnosed right now, because everyone does not share their financial situation publicly or online, or the disability um, results or anything like that online. But I wish someone would have shared that with me before I got sick, because I've never been on government assistance before. Like I said, I was pretty educated. I was making pretty good money. But as an IT person, uh, normally we don't have insurance that comes with. We have contracts, and we have to get our own insurance. And I came in at a time where I had just graduated, and I was entry level, and I did have some insurance, but evidently it wasn't good enough to keep me from getting sick. So um and also as a contractor, I didn't have sick days or vacation time. So there was no, if I went to the doctor, that was counted against me. And in employment at will and without an HR department on my side, I was taking a risk of losing my job even to go check on my own condition. And there were points in my life where I did actually lose a job because I was in the hospital. Because I let it go too far. I couldn't take care of my, so uh, healthcare is a big issue. Medicaid, Medicare is a big issue. Disability is a big issue. Um, Cancer is a big issue. Terminal diseases are a big issue. Terminal conditions, conditions that affect your ability to work are an issue, and we need to address all those issues. And until we stop paying, until we act, activate our vote and put pressure, it's going to be an issue. And if I am saying get insurance on your own right now until we get some type of safety net out there, because this can cause you to lose everything that you have. If you own a home, there are some things that um, that some medical treatments that poor people are going to get that you won't get. But instead of saying they get it and I don't, so let's take it away from them, why don't we get it to a point where we all get it and nothing gets taken away from anyone? Because at any point and any time, things can all get taken away. And I wanted to make this more of a financial discussion than a medical discussion, because it's really, really important. Because without money, you can't get the medical treatment that you think you're going to get. And you need medical treatment. You really need to be able to get that medical treatment that you need. I know my moniker, it has me, well, not me, but a it has a picture of a person at a computer desk, because I'm really trying to reach out to those people who don't have it, who are healthy enough, because I'm in a part of a cancer community now, and I am watching what they're doing. And some of them will leave chemo, throw up in the car, and have to go to work because they cannot lose their insurance, and they are losing their jobs. People, they are losing everything and having to take care of children. And so when somebody says, well, you're disabled, but you're able to take care of your 2 or 3 children you had while you have cancer, so you are able to work. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that part of the policy that says that we pay into, that says that um, if you're not working and somebody else needs your help, that you're working. That doesn't make any sense. I need help, and I can't. I'm trying my best to help myself. It does not. I am staying with my parents. They're not staying with me. While I was staying with them, they got in a really bad car accident. My mom has dementia. My father had a brain injury in which he had a pulmonary. Mom had a pulmonary embolism anyway, and that is part of the reason she has vascular dementia. And my father, they were both in the car. He was taking her to the doctor. Somebody T-boned him. I'm lucky to have them alive. Broke his ribs and caused him a severe brain bleed at 82 years old. So for people to say, okay, you were taking care of them, no, I was not taking care of them. They got in a really bad car accident, and all of a sudden, I didn't have anyone to take care of me. And I had to step up to the plate, and I knew I couldn't work, because even when I thought I could try to take care of them, I couldn't. And I was complaining about that to the doctor, and it was used against me in disability. I know this is taking so a little longer than I thought, and I don't mean to ramble. My basic talking points are to ensure that you are okay. Either if you have a job that offers disability insurance, that is great. If they don't offer it, you need to buy your own private plan. You need disability insurance, health insurance, and your car insurance is important. Like, you need to be insured, because right now at this present time, there's no social programs in place, and it gives you a false sense of security when you see that some of these things are being taken out of your check, especially Social Security is being taken out of your check, and it's not really available like you may think it is. And that is something that needs to be addressed. Either don't take it out of my check anymore um, and let me use that money for something else. Don't take that out of my check. Don't reduce my taxes so I can take care of myself, or take care of me. So that's my rant for the day. It's very disappointing, but it's also very telling, because of the things that were eliminated to a breast cancer um, survivor. Um, I'm not out of the woods yet. I'm only, I guess my surgery, April, May, June, July, August, September. So I'm 6 months out. I have not been 1 year cancer free yet. I did have a metastasis, which was left off of my of my hearing, notes, which I should have been granted. I have not worked. It was left out on purpose, because that would have been a qualifier. And like I said, they don't want they're trying to not grant it. So between now and voting time and active legislation being passed, we must ensure ourselves and make sure. Like I said, I was not aware that these programs were not really available, like they said, and it's not very. Most people don't talk about it because you don't think about it until it happens to you, and you think it's there because it is a reduction of your disposable income. So you think that's going to happen. And I'll leave on one more note. I had a cousin who, if you're expected that if your life expectancy is going to be less than 1 year, if your cancer has spread to the point it's going to be less than 1 year, you can't get compassionate disability, and they will try to rush your money, so they say. My cousin passed away before he got his first check. So even those people, and he had been working since I knew him. He had been working when he was in high school. He drove the school bus, and he never stopped until he got sick. And, he was getting closer to 65, where he would have been getting payments every year. And they took so long to get him his money. He did not get a piece of that retirement. And you know what happens? What happens is it goes back into the pot. They can't be out of Social Security money because so many people are dying before they turn 65. That money's still there. And the people who are sick and could die before they're 65, they're figuring out ways not to pay them. Um, my chances of living to be 65, my chances of living 5 years with this 25%, and I can't get any money. So I just wanted to share that with you. This is what the law is. This is how they're adjudicating right now. And write your local congressman, because there's a lot of cancer patients who are in my situation who are basically too weak and too sick to fight for themselves. I have a lot of energy today because I'm angry, and I slept for about 2 days straight, and when I got this letter, it woke me right on up. So um if you are able to receive this and understand this, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave your comments in the comment section, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.